You mentioned something at the end of that roundtable and said, I would choose this group of guys
Of everybody.
out of any team that you've ever been on, any Mavericks team in history. Do you still stand by those words? And also, looking back at that group, how disappointing was it that you guys didn't win that championship? And then seeing guys like Aguirre traded away, yourself, Roe Blackman traded to the Knicks. How disappointing was it that you guys didn't win it together?
Let me say this first, Earl. I don't want to get caught up trying to compare old to new. The Mavericks won the championship 2011. Nobody in this world can take that away from them. What they were able to accomplish, the way they were able to accomplish it, speaks for itself. It speaks volume to what they were as a basketball team. However, Mark Aguirre, Rolando Blackman, Roy Tarpley, James Donaldson, Sam Perkins, Brad Davis. I will go to war with those guys against any team, not only in our Maverick history, but in the NBA, because I know those guys. I know how those guys prepared. I know I could count on each and every one of those guys to be ready. And sometimes you just don't win a championship because somebody else is better. And that was the case for our basketball team. But when you start talking about a guy like Mark, a guy that could get you 25, 35 points a night, Rolando Blackman, one of the most intense competitors I've ever been around in my life, playing the two. James Donaldson, a guy that was surely to play his role and do his job in the paint. Roy Tarpley, underrated as far as greatness is concerned. Sam Perkins, a true championship type of a guy. Played at North Carolina, just a glue guy that you can win with. I just have a lot of respect for our teams, and like I said, being around those guys, I knew our ultimate goal was to win games. We didn't have any agenda. Our chemistry was good for the most part. You know, the thing that bothers me as well, you talk about lows, was Mark leaving here, because I don't think there's any way that, you know, what we had as a team, it should have been divided. It should have been broken up. And that was a sad time too. You know, none of us are perfect. I'm sure, I mean, personally, I've said and done some things in the past that I wish I could take back. As far as a player is concerned, I'm sure Mark would feel the same way with his situation. But, you know, I think if you talk to Mr. Carter, you talk to Rick's son, you talk to Norm and all the people that orchestrated Mark leaving here, I think if they had to do it all over again, they would second guess themselves and think twice about doing it, because I think everybody realizes that we had something special here when that group was together and when we were clicking as a team.
And of course, Mark went on to win 2 titles with Detroit. But he said –
you hear it all the time, too, from Mark.
But he even said he was disappointed that you guys didn't get a chance to share in that. And Coach Carlisle said, knowing the type of competitor that you are, he fully expected for you to stand by those words, saying that you would choose that team even over his team this year. But now to see this organization bring a title to the city of Dallas after 31 years, you seeing how close you guys were, seeing how close the team was in 2006, how special was that to see?
You don't even know. I mean, it was a surreal feeling for me, as well as it was for everybody else that's a part of the Mavericks organization, obviously. But, you know, for me, I felt like I won a championship, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not going to tell you where I was when the Mavericks finally won the championship, what I was doing, but I was celebrating just like those guys were celebrating the same way. But, you know, when I think about it, I don't think necessarily about myself. I don't think about our guys that didn't win a championship so much as I do you guys, the fans, the people that were Maverick fans when they were going through the hard times and the struggles. I think about Keith Grant. I think about George Killebrew, Billy Phillips, Lisa Tyner, people that are in this that are in the Mavericks front office, Steve Letson, people that have been around the organization through the ups, through the downs, through the ups, through the downs, back and forth. I think about those people and those guys, because they're the ones that have stayed the course of what the Mavericks have been about. You know, it's easy to sell tickets and corporate sponsorships and those kind of things right now, but back through the tough times, it was difficult to do those kind of things. And Steve and Mary Jean and Mike Gaines and all these different people, they were the ones doing it. You know, when people were wearing the paper bags over their heads and all of those things. Steve and those guys stood in the gap. They were still here. George Killebrew still had to go out and sell sponsorships. So my hat is off to those guys, and I think I'm most happy, Earl, for those people than I am anybody, you know, not to mention the guys that were able to pull it off.
We can't let you get out of here without – Steve, can you bring that picture over here? We got to talk about this. Hold on.
Those are long shorts.
The 1980s, of course, a lot changed in the game back then. Let me hold this up. When you look at this uniform, those shorts are a little young where I come from. They say those are a little young. It's kind of short shorts. You got the shorts on underneath. Of course, you're repping the Mavericks, but you said those are long for when you came into the league.
In all things considered, now when I came into the league, they would have been about right there. They were more like swimming trunk shorts back in the day when I first came to the league. And I think it was the Fab Five that started that long, short thing, Weber and Jalen Rose and all of those guys. And I'll never forget that because getting older in my career, I was kind of one of those guys that was trying to do anything that I possibly could to be a little bit younger, if you would. So once the long shorts, I jumped right on that bandwagon, man. When you could wear them longer, I was all for it. I was all for pulling my shorts down and, going with the flow of the new generation and the changing of the guard, so to speak.
And you see he's got the Paisley shirt on today. Very fashionable cat. If you look at his feet, I'm a sneakerhead, so I see you got the pumps on also in the 80s. I used to pump mine up right before a game. So.
I used to pump them up too, but they lied, though, Earl, when it comes to these shoes because supposedly if you pump them up, you jump higher. And I never could jump, and those shoes didn't help me to jump any higher.
Well, why don't you talk about some of the stuff you've done since your playing days are over? Of course, I look up to you in a great deal as a broadcaster, but just everything that you've done philanthropy-wise now that you're out of the game.
I love television. I love live TV for whatever reason. It gives me the same nervous feeling that I get as a player. And that in itself was something that I wanted to get into, the TV end of things. It's challenging. I think a lot of people think you put a little makeup on and you run out there and you do what you have to do, but it goes far and beyond that. There's a lot of preparation, as you're aware of, Earl, that goes into it. I actually had the opportunity to actually anchor sports a little bit at CBS 11, and when I tell you it was the toughest thing that I ever in my life tried to do, I still feel like I can do it, but it takes time, it takes practice, it takes reps. And anybody that's interested in that field, I'm here to tell you that it takes a lot of work. It's not like you just sit around and show up and you do the job. I've been working with Dave Evans, in fact, this summer, who started his own production company. I've been working with him to try and improve and hone my skills and get better, if you would, as a play-by-play guy, as an analyst, as a sports reporter, whatever the case is. I've done everything that I could to improve, and I've involved myself in a lot of different things off the court that I don't really want to share publicly because they're sort of private business ventures that I've ventured into, and things are going well for me. I like chicken and fish, and I eat it all the time.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by with us here.
Same here.
My man Derek Harper, great years again. His first 10 seasons were with the Dallas Mavericks organization. I'm talking about a guy 15-6. That's reliable at the point guard position. For Derek Harper, Earl K. Sneed signing off here on RedShellMavs.com.
You're good, man.